Everybody, welcome into To The Point. Hey, hope you're all doing well. On this Tuesday, we have a lot to talk about today. Big result with the Texas Rangers advancing to the World Series for the first time since 2011, and they now have a 50% chance, 4 wins away from winning the first title in their franchise history. So exciting times in Texas. We also have another Game 7 in baseball tonight with the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. The Diamondbacks refuse to go down. They refuse to give up. Huge win in Philadelphia. Game 7, who knows? Two pitchers that you're not exactly familiar with on either team. A lot to talk about there. The Vikings get a big victory last night in the NFL. I'm going to tell you why the Vikings might not be a frisky team, why they might be a playoff team. Hold on for that. And the NBA begins tonight. 2 games, Nuggets, Lakers, Warriors, Suns. A lot has changed from last season. If you're not an NBA fan, I don't really get you, but still come in the nest. Still listen. Maybe we'll talk some gambling. I like a Lakers bet a lot. That might be advantageous for you. So just come on in. The water's fine. But Texas, Houston. 7-game series. 4 games in Houston, 3 games in Texas, and no team wins at home. It's a truly staggering fact of this series. No home team won. I don't understand it. It's 7 games, no home team wins. Texas, a good home team. They didn't lose a game in the wild card round. They didn't lose a game at home against the Baltimore Orioles. And somehow they're in this predicament. They're playing their divisional foe, and they win a Game 6 and a Game 7 going away in Houston, the champs. Altuve, Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, the beasts of the AFC. I always get those things mixed up. AL West. Looking through it, you see Altuve, incredible series, incredible moments, second most home runs in postseason history, which is hard to believe, but he's going to go in this cheating scandal, whatever. He's going to go in the Hall of Fame when his career's over. Wait for it. If you think it's not going to happen, you're wrong. Alvarez hits homers like nobody's business. The big fella tripled last night. But through all those impressive feats, the player of the series was Adolis Garcia for the Texas Rangers. 5 home runs in 7 games. He couldn't be stopped. He had the momentum, and he just ran with it. A grand slam in the 9th inning of Game 6. He carries that over to Game 7, goes 4 for 5, 5 RBIs, and 2 home runs. And he wins the AL Championship Series MVP. Seager goes 3 for 5 last night, and Evan Carter had a hell of a night. But Adolis Garcia was that guy. Jonah Heim had a hell of a series as their catcher, swinging the bat. Jordan Montgomery has had a hell of a postseason. Max Scherzer was no good, and yet they won the game going away. The Texas Rangers have been able to skate by the fact that their bullpen might be the worst bullpen of all the playoff teams, and they're going to get to the World Series. They have about 3 guys that they can put in high leverage moments, and yet here we are. They're awaiting their opponent. And Texas spent a lot of money to be in this situation, to get to a World Series. But the funny thing is, Jacob deGrom is not here. Jordan Montgomery is the guy. With Nathan Eovaldi, whose career looked dead about 3 different times with Tommy John surgeries. Yet he's been the most consistently reliable pitcher in the postseason. Texas, a team that did not make the playoffs last year, is in the World Series. Getting by Houston. And the funny thing is, I picked Texas to win the series, just like I picked the Phillies. We'll see if I'm right tonight. But looking at it, down 3-2, going back to Houston, I don't like their chances. Playing the champions in Houston, Altuve, Dusty Baker, Yordan Alvarez, all the experience that they have. But Houston's lack of pitching caught up with them. Christian Javier didn't get out of the first inning. Hunter Brown gets the ball, starting pitcher, then turned reliever. No good last night. He couldn't get an out. No matter where they turned, Texas hit them. Texas postseason experience. If you look at Simeon, you look at Seager for the Texas Rangers, Max Scherzer, Eovaldi. Not to mention you have Dusty Baker and Bruce Bochy, two of the most accomplished managers in the last 20, 25 years. Bruce Bochy won 3 World Series with the San Francisco Giants. It looked like he might not manage again. They win the 3 World Series. It's a weird period in San Francisco that they're still really going through. They've made the postseason once since they won their last World Series, when they won the division over the Dodgers, winning over 100 games. But they've gone through 2 managers since. They just hired a new one today that we'll talk about tomorrow. And yet Bruce Bochy was available. I'm going, well, maybe he just wants to retire. Maybe he doesn't want to manage anymore. He had a ton of success, but Texas offered him a job. And he took it. And here he is, with the opportunity to win his 4th World Series as a manager. Meaning you're going to the Hall of Fame. You're in there no matter what. But you're talking about Corey Seager with a career-defining series here. Can you break through? Can you win a World Series? The Dodgers did, but I've talked about that. It was one of the weirdest World Series wins in recent memory because it was the bubble and there was the whole COVID scandal. Seager in Texas, where if the Diamondbacks win tonight, Texas has home field. Imagine that. If Arizona wins tonight, we will have Texas, Arizona with the last seeded wildcard teams in the American League and the National League. The 7th seed. And they would get through. Happy for Bruce Bochy. I've been a fan for a long time. I love the way he handled his teams in San Francisco. Letting Madison Bumgarner pitch in big situations. He knew he had an ace. And he allowed him to come out there and get outs out of the bullpen. He allowed him to close games. It was just about finding a way to win. Same thing happened last night. Jordan Montgomery came out to relieve Max Scherzer. He pitched 2 1/3 after pitching in Game 5. He gets the win in the closeout game. You got to move on, you got to win that night. And I think that's something Bruce Bochy did better than Dusty Baker last night. He said, I'm throwing everything at the wall and I'm seeing what sticks. Doesn't matter. I'll try it. It helps when you get out to a 3-0 lead in the first inning and you chase the starting pitcher and you have all the momentum, and that Houston crowd was out of it for a large portion of that game. But he was cool, calm, and collective. He made the right moves. And here we are. Now, looking ahead, Major League Baseball is praying for a Phillies win tonight. They do not want Diamondbacks Rangers in the World Series. Begins on Friday. It's one thing I'll give them credit for. They're not putting a game on Sunday, which is beyond stupid. So thankfully, they're not doing that. That's something they do. But that wouldn't be good for baseball. The ratings, Diamondbacks, a very small market. Texas, a fringe small market because Houston's become the market in that area. Even though they just beat them because the Texas Rangers have been, the ugly stepsister to the Houston Astros for a long period of time. For the Phillies, you had Aaron Nola last night. You had your guy to close it out. And it didn't happen. Tommy Pham, a guy Arizona acquired at the trade deadline, hits a solo home run. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., former Toronto Blue Jay, if you didn't know, solo shot is the next guy up. They scored 3 runs in the second inning, and Philly had opportunities. 2 runners on in the first and second innings, but they don't bring anybody home. They doubled them up in the 7th. And last night, the pitchers pitched around threats like Kyle Schwarber. They didn't allow him to hit. He walked 3 times. Bryce Harper went 0 for 3 with a walk. Trey Turner 0 for 4. Nick Castellanos, who all that good fortune's kind of wore off, doesn't have a home run since game 1, and he's batting .50 for the series. Ketel Marte's been a huge bump for Arizona. He's been their guy, but you have Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Pham, Evan Longoria, the veteran, had an RBI double last night. Merrill Kelly was solid. He only pitched 5 innings, but he avoided some landmines. So now you get Brandon Paft, who after struggling to start the postseason, has turned it around. He's a 2.13 ERA in 3 starts. Against Ranger Suarez, who's made 2 starts and is 1-0 with a 0.64 ERA. So 2 guys that have been successful over the course of the postseason. But with all that being said, it's a Game 7. Anything can happen. I expect both these teams to do what they have to do. Meaning, for Philly, if Zach Wheeler has to come in the ball game tonight, then Zach Wheeler has to come in the ball game via the bullpen. If Zach Gallen has to pitch 2 innings after pitching in Game 5, doesn't matter. It's about survival, getting the outs, and advancing to the World Series, and you'll have 2 days off to reset your pitching and figure out what you want to do when you play the Texas Rangers. If the Phillies lose this evening, it's truly one of the biggest upsets in recent memory. It would be a massive missed opportunity, in my opinion. But that's what makes the playoffs fun. We know the team that should win. It's Philadelphia. Philadelphia should win the World Series, even while seeing that Texas is there. To me, they are still the betting favorite. They are still the best team remaining. But the Florida Panthers in hockey got to the Stanley Cup final. Nobody gave them a chance. They'll lose to the Bruins. They'll lose to the Maple Leafs. They'll lose to the Carolina Hurricanes. Arizona's a similar team. They did not make the playoffs last year. They have a young core. They have a catcher who has barely had any Major League Baseball experience until this year. A lot of cast-offs. Some guys you didn't know that were still in the league, like Evan Longoria. And yet here they are, a game away from getting to the World Series. Haven't won a World Series since 9/11, 2001, when they beat the Yankees that year. Should be another entertaining ball game. It's hard to bet against the Phillies, but again, you look at what happened they had a 3-2 lead, and they blew it. They gave it to the Texas Rangers. Philly was in the same position. We'll see if they throw it away tonight. Paf's a young pitcher. Ranger Suarez has been around a little longer. Paf's only 25. Still trying to figure this out. I look at Bryce Harper tonight. He's been the man throughout the postseason. He was the man in the postseason last year. They got to the World Series last season. They lost to the Houston Astros. They are one win away from getting back to the World Series again this year. He's a Hall of Famer. His career has been worthy of the first overall pick. That's no longer a topic of discussion. He's one of the best players of his era. You could argue he's the best player of his era. But what will hang over him forever is the fact that the first year that he left the Washington Nationals, they won the World Series. He's in Philly. The Phillies missed the playoffs after paying him a $300 million deal, and the Nationals win the World Series. And the Phillies have been more competitive since, and the Nationals haven't even come close to making the postseason, but they got that World Series. They have that trophy on the team that he was drafted to. He goes to a team right down the road in the same division. I think he'll be good tonight. I think he at least hits a home. He's going to hit a home run tonight, Bryce Harper. But for Philly, what got them last night? Noah threw a lot of pitches high in the zone, just letting them hang, and the D-backs can hit home runs. You might look around and go, they don't have a power hitter that you would recognize, which is true. There's no Schwarber on the Arizona Diamondbacks, but they just have a number of guys that can do damage when you give them the opportunity. Gurriel, Marte, Pham, who knows who it's going to be. Gabriel Moreno, a supposed non-home run hitter, has been a pretty good home run hitter in the postseason. So that'll be decided tonight in Philadelphia, that crazy crowd. An opportunity to get back to the World Series. Can't wait. We do have more baseball news. There was a managerial change. But I'm going to say that tomorrow. Save some content for tomorrow. So a strange development when it comes to a manager hiring and a firing all in one. But we'll dive into that tomorrow. Monday Night Football last night, the Minnesota Vikings defeat the San Francisco 49ers at home. 49ers dropped their second straight, and the Vikings improved to 3-4. Normally, you look at San Francisco and think they're the tougher team. They're more physical. They're going to bludgeon you. Their offensive line's going to create holes. They play in space. And yet they got whooped last night. The space that the Vikings had to make plays from jump was pretty incredible. You look around the whole night, Jordan Addison in space, KJ Osborne, Justin Jefferson was not on the field, and yet they had room to play. For the Vikings receivers, who multiple guys had really big catches, great games. TJ Hawkins had 11 catches, career high for 86 yards. Jordan Addison had 7 catches, career high for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. KJ Osborne, 5 for 47. Brandon Powell, 4 for 64, career highs. Kirk Cousins was dealing. He was in the kitchen, and he was serving up a hell of a meal. Finding guys, big passes, third down. He threw an interception earlier in the game that he almost threw the same pick later, but Jordan Addison took it away. But Kirk Cousins, who's normally not good in prime time, normally can't step up, I thought he had a hell of a game last night. Hell of a game. His defense helped him. They only gave up 17 points. They handled McCaffrey extremely well. He only averaged 3 yards a carry, ran 15 times. They didn't allow, really, for San Francisco to gain momentum. Ayuk did not have a catch in the second half. Brock Purdy ended up throwing 2 interceptions. One was at the end of the game in a heave, but it didn't matter. 2 picks is 2 picks. San Francisco, more turnovers, just more stupid decisions last night. That defensive line for Minnesota was all business. Danielle Hunter, who's been mentioned in trade rumors, came out to play with a point to prove. Kirk D. Cousins, who's been talked about being traded last year of his deal, no extension past this season, played fantastic. Not to mention, here's something fun. You know Kirk Cousins is second in the NFL in passing yards behind Tua Tagovailoa? He has more passing yards than Patrick Mahomes, than Stafford, than Josh Allen. Do you know who leads the NFL in passing touchdowns? Oh yeah, Kirk D. Cousins. More than Tua, Mahomes, Josh Allen. He's 4th in quarterback rating. He's got 5 interceptions. Okay. I think he's playing pretty well this year. Mahomes has 6. Sometimes you just get the better bounce. Their defense wasn't as good. You're in some tough situations. Kirk makes dumb decisions late in games, no doubt about it. He's not a perfect quarterback, but all in all, he's played really well this year, Kirk D. Cousins. I talked about writing them off, and I think I was too soon. The Minnesota Vikings, to me, are a team that will always have flaws. But here's what I'm looking at for the Vikings. They're 3-4. Here's what they got left. Packers, at Falcons, host the Saints, at Broncos, play the Bears, at the Raiders, at the Bengals, Lions twice, and the Packers. So other than the Lions game, other than the Lions matchups, both in divisional matchups, obviously, they have one game against a team with a winning record at this point, which is the Atlanta Falcons, which is a fraud 4-3. Every other team that they play is either 500 or below 500. Vikings are 3-4. I think they're going to beat the Packers, so they will be 4-4 after 8 weeks. Can they beat the Falcons in Atlanta? Absolutely. Could they beat the Saints, who can't score any points At home, yes, 6-4. At the Broncos, 7-4. Host the Bears, 8-4. At the Raiders, 9-4. I'm just saying this team can flirt with a 10-7 season, and in the NFC, you are going to make the playoffs with a 10-7 record. Flat out. I think they can win one of those Lions games at the very least, at least one. Not to mention, this offense is explosive. In the passing game, there's so many different weapons. And if the team is competitive, Justin Jefferson is going to return this year from his injury. Because if the team can make the playoffs, he's a competitor. He's going to want to come back, work with Kirk D. Cousins, and see what you can do. A disaster start, 1-4. And it looks like it's over. It looks like the sky is falling. You're going to trade off pieces. But maybe the Vikings won't want to do that. Maybe the Vikings won't want to go down that route. Because you just beat San Francisco. And there's no great team in the NFL other than Kansas City. In the NFC, who the hell knows? We're still trying to figure out who's good and who's not. San Francisco lost last night. They're still a good team. That doesn't change the facts, but they've lost 2 in a row. And you lose to Cleveland without Deshaun Watson. And you lose to Minnesota and they don't have Justin Jefferson and you're a huge favorite on the road. That's worrisome for the 49ers faithful. Not to mention, you got the Bengals coming off a bye this Sunday, which is not an easy game ever, playing against Joe Burrow, who's now healthy. So you've shown some weaknesses yourself. Brock Purdy, to me, is still a very good quarterback. I'm not worrying about him. I think people just want him to fail for some reason. I don't really understand why. Oh, he's not this. He's not Tom Brady. I don't know who's saying he's Tom Brady. That's a stupid argument. I think the guy can play, and I like his receivers. I think McCaffrey's banged up last night. Trent Williams didn't play. The best left tackle in football. So, what are you going to do? These things happen. The Bills lost to the Patriots. The Vikings are better than the Patriots. Vikings will fight for a playoff spot. Patriots are going nowhere fast. But in the NFC, the Vikings are better than the Packers. The Vikings, to me, are as good as any team in the NFC South. Tampa, Atlanta, New Orleans, they're all the same. They're all mediocre. Vikings have more firepower. Here's a fun stat. The Vikings have played 7 games this year. They do not have a rushing touchdown. 7 games without a rushing touchdown. It's all Kirk D. Cousins. They can't quarterback sneak. Never works with the Vikings. All people in the NFL want to do is outlaw the tush push. Maybe teams just don't do it as well as the Vikings, as well as the Eagles. Like the Vikings. Watch the game last night. Or San Francisco on certain occasions. Just need a quarterback with stronger lower body. Then it can work every time. But outlawing the play? Give me a break. But to me, the Vikings have something. They're not dead. They have life. I like Kirk D. Cousins. Kevin O'Connell, there's something there. They'll lose a game, you expect them to win, and it'll piss you off, and maybe they miss the playoffs by 1 game, and that's their season. And that's the worry. If you're Vikings management, you look at it and go, what if we finish 9-8? And we miss the playoffs by 1 game, we could trade off pieces, and now we get a shitty draft pick with no quarterback signed next season. and we're in no man's land. And Justin Jefferson doesn't want to stay here because he's seeing what it's like for Devontae Adams to play in Las Vegas without a quarterback. It's not a whole lot of fun. He's not going to stay here. He'll be a free agent. He'll go sign somewhere for big money and start a super team where they try to win a Super Bowl like Tyreek Hill did with Tua in Miami. Addison's been a fantastic rookie. If you just look at the league and receivers, he's been phenomenal. He's a touchdown machine for these Vikings. He has 6 receiving touchdowns on the season in 7 games as a rookie, tied with Stephon Diggs and only 1 behind Tyreek Hill for the entire league. He's not up there when it comes to receiving yards because he's a slot guy and wasn't getting a whole lot of attention earlier in the year. But he's up to 24. He's got 400 receiving yards in the season. 29 catches, 400 yards, 6 touchdowns with a 13-yard average. That ain't bad. Only 21. Sky's the limit for him. For the Vikings, for the 49ers, they're not healthy. I do think they got a little high in their own supply. Jake Moody, their kicker, is a problem. He's missing easy kicks. He missed one to win the game against the Browns. He missed one that could have made the game interesting last night, where if he makes a kick, it would have been a 2-point game late, where all you need is a walk-off field goal to win the game. But he's missed at least a kick in back-to-back weeks. Robbie Gould, line 1, do you want to come back and play football? Do you want to get off the couch and come kick for a team that could win the Super Bowl again? I know you've done it before. You were awesome in Chicago. You were awesome for us. We had a falling out. We drafted this guy in the 3rd round, but we could give a shit. We'll cut him. We'll move on because we want to win a Super Bowl this year. And that's what it is for San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch. It's about now. It's about winning. Getting home field throughout the NFC. They need that. San Francisco is a tough place to play. And I think on their chart for the year, they had wins over Minnesota and over Cleveland. In particular, with the circumstances that they had in these games going in. And now you're 5-2. And you'll be competing with the Cowboys of the world, and now you're trailing Philadelphia, who occupy the number 1 seed in the NFC. Philly, who beat Miami on Sunday night. For Philly, Jalen Hurts is making a lot of mistakes. He's not playing the guy who got to the Super Bowl last year. You look at him and go, something's wrong. Something smells. But yet they're 6-1. And you love their offensive line. And Swift can do anything in the running game with that offensive line. And A.J. Brown is a difference maker. Hard stop. And I still love Jalen Hurts despite the fact that he's had 5 turnovers in his last 3 games. But Swift getting 4 yards a carry and Gainwell and Dallas Goedert when Dallas Goedert gets at least 60 yards receiving, the Philadelphia Eagles have not lost a game other than the Super Bowl. But A.J. Brown, 10 catches for 137 yards. He just makes big catches. He's a number 1. He's now up to 2nd in the NFL in receiving yards. The Eagles are working through things. I still believe the Cowboys are a tough matchup for them. Just the way the Cowboys play. The Cowboys play a lot like the Jets, When their defense is at its best, they play a lot like the Jets defense. They're fast. They have a multitude of guys that can play different positions. And it's just a really difficult group to get ready. Are you going to blitz? Are we dropping into zone? Are we going to double team you? There's different looks. There's spying. So they're a tricky group to prepare for. The Eagles went 1-1 against the Cowboys last season. They obviously still have to play them twice this year. Week 8, the Eagles play the Commanders for the second time. Why are all these... Side note, Eagles Commanders for the second time this year. Chiefs Broncos for the second time this year. Dolphins Patriots for the second time this year. Vikings Packers, that's the first time, but still a division game. Texans Panthers for the second time this year. All divisional games for the second time in week 8. Too quick, enough. But they get the Commanders, who they beat in overtime. Then the Eagles get the Cowboys at home in week 9. So that'll be a big test for them. That'll be their measuring stick to say, hey, we are still above you. We're still better than you. Cowboys get the Rams. So 2 games that the team should win, and then you play a big game, and the winner of that game will lead the division. They have the NFC East. For the Dolphins, I still think they're a good team. I still believe that Tua and Tyreek are one of the most deadly combinations in pro sports currently. But Miami has had a couple issues. One, they haven't beat a good team yet. They're 5-2, and they've beaten the Patriots. They beat the Chargers, who I don't consider a good team because they're 2 games below 500. And you beat the Broncos by 50. But you play the Eagles and Philadelphia, you lose by 2 scores. You play Buffalo in Buffalo, and you lose by 3+ scores. So the 2 games that you have tough opponents, quote unquote, you get smoked and you're on the road. So the Dolphins will be a playoff team. You look at them and they're very good. They'll have big numbers. And Tyreek Hill, unless he gets injured, will likely lead the league in receiving yards. He might lead the league in receiving touchdowns. All that very well could be true. But what does that give you in the grand scheme of things? What does it bring you? If you can't beat the big team. Tells me 2 things. The Dolphins need home field. They need to compete for the top spot in the AFC. They'll have an opportunity to control that destiny because in 2 weeks they play the Kansas City Chiefs in Germany. You win this week against the Patriots. You beat the Chiefs after week 9 going into your bye week. You will have the best record in the AFC. Nobody can catch you because you'll have a head-to-head matchup against the Chiefs where you won, you own the tiebreaker, and you'll both will have the same record. So you have that control. But to me, the Dolphins need home field. Check, number 1. They need their defense to continue to improve, and 2 ways that can happen. Scheme, Vic Fangio putting guys in better situations, and health. Jalen Ramsey hasn't played yet. That's a big deal. He's an all-pro corner that will be available later in the season. I think he'll be back probably after the Germany game. Maybe before Thanksgiving, he'll be playing for the Miami Dolphins. So that's a positive, certainly. They had no Xavier Howard on Sunday, so they were without their top 2 corners. Jalen Phillips is playing sparingly. And on offense, the Dolphins didn't have 3 of missing Teron Armstead, missing Connor Williams. They had to put Eichenberg playing center. They were without 3 linemen, and their defense is a little wounded. So I think for the Dolphins, they need a lot to go their way to really be a threat to win the whole thing. They need health. They need the situation. because I don't believe the Dolphins can go into Arrowhead and win a playoff game. I don't. I haven't been proven that this year. Over the course of history, the Dolphins have not proven that they can go in anywhere and win a big game. Before I started doing this, I was a Dolphins fan, and they never won anything. They never won a big game anywhere. And quite frankly, last year the Dolphins won in Baltimore. That was a big game. I give them that one. It was early in the season on the road. Germany you could look at as a neutral site because no team's technically at home. But in that game, the Chiefs are the home team. So that would be a big road win. The rest of the season, you got to go to the Jets on Black Friday. It's not an easy opponent. Jets are a solid team. Looking just at their road games to find a tricky opponent. A lot of home games down the stretch because they started on the road. They play at Baltimore in Week 17. Not easy. But Miami's still one of the better teams in the AFC. Do I think they can win I don't think they can win a playoff game in Buffalo. I don't. The style of that team, yes, they got close to doing it last year with Skylar Thompson, but that was just a weird event. And I don't love the Bills at all, as we've talked about. I've never believed in them. They've always been a fraud bunch to me. I picked the Jets to win this division before the year started, and I was banking on Aaron Rodgers playing. I still think the Jets are a frisky bunch. I think they can be a playoff team with Zach Wilson in that defense. Crazier things have happened. News today in the NFL. Chris Olave, great wide receiver for the Saints, was arrested on suspicion of reckless driving late last night in New Orleans. Chiefs Justin Ross, another wide receiver, he was arrested in Kansas City, faces felony charge. The Los Angeles Rams released kicker Brett Maher after he missed 3 field goals on Sunday. Former kicker in the CFL and obviously former kicker for the Dallas Cowboys, who was missing all those extra points in the playoff game last year. Remember that one? Brett the Fret, he's gone. Titans coming off a bye, unclear if Ryan Tannehill is going to be available to play. Vrabel said they might play both quarterbacks, Malik Willis and rookie Will Levis, in that game if Tannehill cannot play against the Falcons. Which is interesting, but the Titans are on a downward spiral. They're not a good team. We could very well see the Titans tank. And they sold off Kevin Byard, who was a longtime member of the Titans. He was traded yesterday to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 2024 and a 2025 6th-round pick. He's a former All-Pro. He may not be as good as he once was, but he's still a solid player. The Eagles were missing a player in their secondary after C.J. Gardner-Johnson left in the offseason for the Detroit Lions. So they get a guy who's experienced, who's played in the postseason, a guy who wants to win, and kind of shore up that safety spot that's been leaking all year long. And the Eagles are very clear with what they want to do. They want to win a Super Bowl this year. They got to one last year. You're pushing to win another one. Howie Roseman says, I'll get whatever I need in order to win. And to me, for Philly, defense is where they need it. Up front, the pass rush with all the guys they have from Georgia, playing pretty damn well. The secondary needs a little help, but if you can get Darius Slay is back healthy, James Bradbury, the 4th, healthy, you need a safety. They get that in Kevin Byard. Also, Dawson Knox had wrist surgery. He's out indefinitely for the Buffalo Bills. So that's a sizable loss. They did draft Dalton Kincaid in the first round from the University of Utah. So he will likely be getting more snaps, get more of an outlook on the offense. So that's what's happening in the NFL. Game on Thursday this week. Buccaneers, Bills. So we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow because there'll be no show Thursday. We'll preview that tomorrow. Talk about the line in that game and everything that is going on in the world of the NFL. Already week 8, which is sad. It is sad to me. Because it's already almost half over. But you enjoy it while it's here. I love it. There's nothing better than football. But yeah. Don't know if you know this tonight, but in the NHL this evening, every team is playing, and they're doing a version of the NFL Red Zone basically on ESPN, where if you're not familiar with the Red Zone, every weekend there's a channel you can go on and they show you clips from every game. There's a host. His name is Scott Hansen. And he bounces around between games and he talks to people, and it's one of the most popular programs on NFL Sundays. Tonight on the Mothership, John Buccigross will be hosting this type of event. And every team in the NHL plays tonight because there's only one game last night, Montreal beating Buffalo, only one game tomorrow. We have 16 games in the NHL tonight. And it all kicks off at 7 p.m. Atlantic with first game is actually Leafs Capitals in DC. We get Leafs Capitals, Ducks Blue Jackets at 7:30. 7:45 Sabres Sens, 8 Hurricanes Lightning, Devils Canadiens at 8:15, Stars Penguins 8:30, 8:45. Goes all the way until midnight Atlantic with Flyers Golden Knights. So 12 a.m., technically Wednesday morning, that game will start. Interesting decision. I like that they're doing it on a Tuesday. There's no other major sport. College football has a few games, but they're not big games. Maction. You have Game 7 of the NLCS, but I don't think that'll interfere with it. Now, you can't really get access to this in Canada because it's on ESPN, but that's not who ESPN is targeting while they're doing this. Pat McAfee had Buccigross on today, which is smart, by ESPN. So I think people are going to care. And credit to Pat McAfee. I don't find him that entertaining. He's not for me. But that doesn't mean he can't be for other people. Just like I don't enjoy spitting chiclets, but I know people do, and I get why they like it. Having Buccigross promoting the NHL on the Pat McAfee show is absolutely a home run. Promoting this event. Getting to see every NHL team. Here, I'm here for. I like trying things. Starting a game at 7 o'clock Atlantic time. I think that's refreshing. Nice for the viewer here because you can go to bed earlier. Something I like also, though, is you got variety. 7, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45. You hit an intermission, you got about 6 different games that you can check out. And for those audiences, Maple Leafs Capitals, Matthews Ovechkin, that's smart. You have the future goal-scoring leader and the past all-time great Ovechkin. Like it. Ducks, Blue Jackets. Sounds like a dud of a game, but you have Fantilli playing Leo Carlsson. Now, the only bad thing is Leo Carlsson sounds like he's not playing tonight. You can't do anything to do it. You can't make him be healthy. But guys that go 2-3 in the draft, some animosity. Fantilli is pissed at the Ducks because he could have been living in Laguna Beach, but now he's living in Ohio. Love it. Sabres Senators, longtime rivalry. Everybody's saying they're in the same position. Who's ahead of one another? Let's see. Like it. Hurricanes, Lightning, two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference the last 3-4 years. Devils, Canadians, can't really come up with anything. Stars, Penguins. Penguins are a sell in the U.S. ESPN, TNT like them. And Jason Robertson's a great young American. Little Joe Pavelski. He has some American stuff going on, I guess. Sharks, Panthers, no clue. Avalanche, Islanders. Again, you can't make all of these winners. Kraken, Red Wings. Bruins, Blackhawks. Yep. You get Connor Bedard against the Bruins. That works. Blues, Jets. Bitter rivalry. Like that. Oilers, Wild. Sure. Canucks, Preds. Rangers, Flames. Coyotes, Kings. And then Flyers, Golden Knights. So they're taking a swing. They're taking a chance. But there's no risk to it. You get every team playing tonight. If you watch one team and you don't check out other games in the intermission, then it doesn't really change your life. Now, if you love intermissions and you love commercials that much, I advise you to seek help. I'm not going to pay for it or do it for you, but you should probably do it just because. But I like having that available. That's one of the best things about the NFL. Oh, game is on commercial? Flip the station. Or you have 3 different TVs, like some people do, with games on and a laptop with the red zone. So again, it's not a Saturday, it's not a stupid night that they're doing it. It's a Tuesday night with little happening in the sports world. Although I do say that and the NBA starts tonight. The NBA does start tonight. Shit, I forgot about that. Of course it does. We're going to talk about it here in 5 minutes. So maybe it's not that smart of an idea. They could have this last Tuesday. God, they're going to get crushed by the NBA. I take back everything I just said. It's a bad night to do it. You want to grab the attention of the viewing public early in the season. That's why you don't do it, say, February, when it's a dead drop, because people might not be interested in February. But Nuggets, you're going to get an hour and a half without the NBA. Maybe that's enough to keep you from not going to the NBA. And I guess you could say the NBA and the NHL has different audiences, but do they really? Sports fans are sports fans. You like basketball, you like hockey, you like tennis, you just go through it all. That's the way that's the way I live my life. But maybe not everybody's like me, thankfully, because that would not be good. But the NBA star, I completely forgot. It's still a smart idea, but they could have did it last Tuesday. What was going on let's check last Tuesday. Probably nothing. October 17th. There was a lot of games that night, to be fair. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, there's 16 tonight. Stars Golden Knights, that was a good game. I watched that one. Kings Jets return. But you got Lakers Nuggets, which is a good game. Rematch of the conference final. And Suns Warriors. No Bradley Beal and no Draymond Green, however. So maybe that'll keep people away. But good on ESPN for trying this. But also why they're doing this tonight is because the NBA is on TNT. The NBA is on TNT, NBA is on ESPN on the mothership tomorrow night. That's when they get their first coverage on ESPN with the Celtics and the Knicks. And Victor Wembanyama's debut against the Dallas Mavericks. So that's why they want to do it tonight. They kind of upstage the NBA. Say, we got hockey over here. Every team's playing, not just 2 games. Come get all of this stuff this evening. Andre Burakovsky is going to be out almost 2 months with a core muscle surgery for the Kraken, who started out the season slow. They are struggling out of the gate. They currently sit 1-4-1. Philip Grubauer has not won a start yet. They play the red-hot Red Wings, with DeBrincat, who leads the NHL in goals. Justin Hall, who leads the NHL in plus-minus, which I hate that stat. It's pointless. But seeing him leading the league in plus-minus, just really, it gave me a smile, and it made my day better, because I knew it was going to piss off some people that I love. It's not a good trait to have. When you're an anarchist like myself, you like to see that when you know it'll anger people. Justin Hall, he's playing some good damn hockey in Detroit. Funny, you put a guy in a third pair and you don't ask him to play top 4 minutes, he can play pretty well. That's hard to figure out. For some organizations, anyway. Stupid ones. Yeah, we got some good games this evening. Joseph Wall back in between the pipes for the Toronto Maple Leafs after coming in relief in their victory on Saturday. Carolina's lost 2 in a row. They're at Tampa tonight. Still have the Avalanche, Golden Knights, Bruins, all undefeated, putting those streaks on the line tonight. Oilers, no Connor McDavid. Playing a Minnesota team was off to a pretty crappy start themselves. So let's see what kind of energy they have. Flames were called out. Zadorov said no Daryl, no excuses, which I thought was telling today. New coach saying, hey, we can't keep throwing this on him anymore. I think Zadorov liked playing for Daryl Sutter. He had a lot of success playing for Daryl, more than he ever has over the course of his career. He got more opportunity, more looks. And yeah, they're 2-3-1, but they haven't played good hockey. And they welcome the Rangers to the Saddle Dome. Their top players have been Nazem Kadri has been ice cold. He's looking to break out of a slump. Late start, but that Coyotes-Kings game will be good tonight. Coyotes are a fun team to watch. Sounds weird, but they are. And the Flyers, they play the Golden Knights. Their Flyers are 3-1-1 in their first 5. Golden Knights are 6-0. Something's got to get. So it should be a fun night in the National Hockey League with every team playing. Now, we just talked about it. The NBA is back. It starts tonight with the banner being raised in Denver, Colorado. Nikola Jokic saying he didn't have a good summer because it wasn't long enough because he won the championship. I love him. Brings so much to the table. What happened since the NBA Finals when Denver beat Miami? Well, Denver basically is returning their same team, but Bruce Brown is gone to Indiana. They gave him a good chunk of money. He's a big loss because he was their sixth man. What I would say is the Denver Nuggets are still a very good team. They have the best player in the NBA in Nikola Jokic. Christian Braun is a very fun player. Michael Porter Jr. Jamal Murray, Jokic, still the best 1-2 tandem in the league. That high pick and roll, just to the three-pointer, an unstoppable play to this point. But teams around Denver, in particular in the Western Conference, have gotten a lot better. I look at the Lakers, front and center. To me, the Lakers are a dangerous team. They got to the conference final. They got swept, and I gave them a better chance of beating the Denver Nuggets than the Miami Heat did, and that went 5 games. The Lakers had a good team, but they looked themselves in the mirror and go, we can't beat Denver. We're too old. We don't have the depth. And they went to work this offseason. Rob Pelinka, who LeBron wanted fired, brought in Gabe Vincent, who was part of the Miami Heat, a great guard that will fit into this team. Adding Cam Reddish from the Hawks, Jackson Hayes, Taurean Prince, Max Christie, re-signing Austin Reeves, who was such an important player for them. Looked like he might leave to go to San Antonio. Re-signing Rui Hachimura, Christian Wood. They have a lot of options on this team. They can play big. They can play small. D'Angelo Russell sticking around. His money is not huge, so you can trade him at the trade deadline if he's not working out. They just have flexibility in Los Angeles after already being a very good team last year. Looking outside of that, in Memphis, John Morant suspended the first 25 games for bringing a gun to every establishment on the East Coast. He's out 25 games. Their center, Steven Adams, had back surgery on Monday. He's out for the season. They did bring in Marcus Smart from the Boston Celtics to be the new pulse of the team. Be interesting to see how he fits in with guys like Desmond Bane, who's a good player. Memphis does that. Golden State adds Chris Paul to basically make the Golden State Warriors the Pittsburgh Penguins of the NHL. They are the AARP. Steph Curry's 35, Klay Thompson's 33, Draymond Green's 34, Chris Paul's 38. They have an old team. They can still shoot. You still have Kevon Looney. You have guys that can play, no doubt about it. But you've lost depth. You need to hope Kuminga, Saric, Gary Payton is hopefully healthy. I like Jackson Davis, who they brought in. I think he'll play. He's very good in college. Also in the West, the Phoenix Suns. They lose in the second round again. They fire Monty Williams, who then goes to Detroit for record-breaking money. And you bring in Frank Vogel, who won the title with the Lakers in the bubble. So new head coach, new owner, and then you acquire Bradley Beal from the Washington Wizards for pennies on the dollar. So you get KD, Booker, Bradley Beal, and then to help out in the Lillard trade, you move former number 1 overall pick DeAndre Ayton, and you bring in Yusuf Nurkic. Suns are interesting, no doubt about it. I like the Grayson Allen ad. Eric Gordon's a solid player. Watanabe, ain't bad. They're a good team, and they'll be one of the best offenses in the NBA when everybody's available. But game one is tonight, and Bradley Beal has already been ruled out. That's what I look at this season. Kevin Durant's 35. Bradley Beal's never been healthy throughout his entire career. Devin Booker is the youngest piece, but I hate Nurkic as a center. I don't think he's an upgrade over DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton, I get it, was not working there, but they change up their look as their new owner is hoping for big-time success. The Portland Trailblazers finally traded Damian Lillard to Milwaukee. So they are in complete rebuild mode. They add DeAndre Ayton. They drafted Scoot Henderson, who will be one of the funnest players to watch in the NBA. You have Shaden Sharp, Kamara. They have a young team. Malcolm Brogdon will be a veteran off the bench for this team. Jeremy Grant comes over. Matthias Thybulle, former Sixer, very good defender. This team's going to have some growing pains. They're not going to win a lot of games. I'm interested to see how they use their two centers, what kind of minutes each of them play, what kind of role DeAndre Ayton has on this team, how he approaches his second landing spot. I don't think they'll win a lot of games, but they're a team I look forward to watching on League Pass. Dallas Mavericks, you keep Kyrie Irving, which might be the most questionable decision of them all. You bring in Grant Williams from the Boston Celtics as they change their entire team. Should become a little tougher. You had Derek Jones Jr. from Duke in the draft. Derek Lively, another Duke player. Kleber, Seth Curry to shoot shots. Tim Hardaway Jr. still a Dallas Maverick somehow. I don't think it's going to be a fun year in Dallas. They're a team I'm really not high on. That Kyrie-Luka matchup, that pairing, no defense, ball hogs, that I don't see it going all that well. Minnesota, I look at this as the Anthony Edwards year. He's my favorite player in the league. To me, he's a complete stud. He can do it all. Was great at the FIBA tournament this summer for Team USA. He's in Minnesota where Karl Anthony Towns is still there, and you still have Rudy Gobert, and they've done stupid stuff to really hurt his career by not providing him with great talent and just building a really weird team with no draft picks and not a whole lot of movement. So Minnesota is just there, but they're going to be a playoff team. And they have some good players. They added Alexander Walker, a Canadian, who I like. And McDaniels and Mike Conley, they have a team of veterans that can play. They will be relevant in the Western Conference, but I do love Anthony Edwards. He may ask out soon, by the way. Houston did a bunch. Ime Udoka, new head coach. They added Fred VanVleet from the Raptors for $40 million. They drafted one of the Thompson twins. Houston spent a lot of money. Dylan Brooks, the much maligned Dylan Brooks, is now a member of the Houston Rockets. I look at the team. I like Dylan Brooks. Jabari Smith Jr., Sengun, the center, is fun. Again, Thompson off the bench. Cam Whitmore, another rookie who has high potential. The West is much more difficult than it was last season because I look at it and I go, OKC, very good team with a lot of options. Chet Holmgren, another rookie. Technically his second year, but he's considered a rookie because he didn't play last year. Was injured. Big foot problem. He's back. You get big Victor Wembanyama is in San Antonio on a bad team, but he's interesting to watch. Utah won more games than anybody expected them to last year. They're bringing back a similar bunch. The Clippers, what's going to happen? Are they going to acquire James Harden? Are Kawhi Leonard and Paul George actually going to play games? What kind of team is this? What's going on there? New Orleans. New Orleans. Are we going to see the main man play, Zion Williamson? Seen pictures. He looks like he's in better shape. Looks like he's committed, finally. He's ready to play, this, that, and the third. Are we going to see him with Brandon Ingram, with Valanciunas, with Herb Jones, CJ McCollum, Dyson Daniels, Liddell, Alvarado, Nance, Marshall? I don't mind the team. I think if he plays the whole year, they're definitely a playoff team in New Orleans, but he needs to play. He's their centerpiece. If he's not playing, he'll be traded by the end of the year. Sacramento, my Kings, light the beam. Playoff team last year. A lot of teams in the West get better around them. I still think they're a good club. I still think they're a playoff team. Mike Brown's a great coach. They're not going anywhere. Well, the bet I like the most in the Western Conference, for me, is the Lakers to win their division. The Lakers to win the Pacific right now, which is a division with Golden State, the Clippers, the Suns, and Sacramento. Difficult division, but the whole West is tough. You can get the Lakers at plus 350 right now on FanDuel. I would take a sniff on that because here's why. Golden State is an old bunch. Draymond Green's out to start the year. You know Chris Paul will get injured. Steph Curry misses. No max player, which Golden State is a bunch of them, no max player on the Golden State Warriors has played all 82 in 5 years. And they've missed 20-plus games or more in the last number of years. So I don't trust their health. The Clippers, they sit out every other day. They're not worried about winning a division. Some nights it looks like they're not even worried about making the playoffs, let alone winning the title. Sacramento is good, but there's teams around them that are better. So it comes down to the Lakers or it comes down to Phoenix. I trust the Lakers more because LeBron, oddly enough, is a healthier human being than Kevin Durant to stay on a basketball court, despite the fact that he's older and played more minutes and more playoff games. He is. I think their depth is better. Their defense is better. You look at Hachimura, the guys that they can throw at you. Phoenix cannot defend. Their best perimeter defender is Kevin Durant, and he's 35 years old, and he's banged up. If he's going to be scoring points and he's playing your best defense, he's going up against your best player every other night, good luck, Phoenix. So the Lakers, to me, you can get them at plus money, and you're getting them at a good number where you can make some coin doing it. Hammer the Lakers, plus 350 to win their division. Why they are not the favorite to me is baffling. Don't get it. Phoenix might go farther than in the playoffs. Don't think they will. But Phoenix might. It won't be in the regular season. Just won't. In the East, again, a lot happened. Boston Celtics. Kristaps Porzingis, welcome to town. Drew Holiday comes over to finish off the Lillard deal. Malcolm Brogdon gone. Robert Williams gone. Grant gone. Smart. They're bringing in a new team. They re-signed Jaylen Brown to a Supermax deal. Oof. But they got a good group. Celtics have been competitive for a long time. They're one of the best teams in the league. Again, no doubt about it. Lillard is now in Milwaukee, paired with Giannis, where he signed a 3-year, $186 million extension yesterday. So he's in Milwaukee long-term, which is great news. The Miami Heat, who are in the finals, they lose Max Strus to Cleveland. They lose Gabe Vincent to the aforementioned Lakers. Atlanta still has Trae Young, still has the two guard situation. And you're thinking, what is this team? Oh, yeah, we still have Capella and Okonkwo. two really starting centers. So we got this weird group, and we take too many threes, and we're bad shooters. Yeah, Washington stinks beyond stink. Charlotte. What is Charlotte? LaMelo Ball's making a pile of money. I like PJ Washington. Gordon Hayward's still in the league. Terry Rozier. Rookie Brandon Miller is on this team. Frank Ntilikina, they're a skip. That whole division. Orlando's interesting. Could they be Frisky this year? Really, the most interesting division is the Atlantic with the Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets, the Knicks, the 76ers, and the Raptors. All five of these teams could be playoff teams. So here's my locks in the East. It's way easier. Boston, yep. Brooklyn, yes. The Knicks, yep. Usually don't say that about a team from New York in basketball, but I'm going to with the Knicks. They're making the playoffs again. They're too good, too much talent. I'm more confident in the Knicks making the playoffs than the 76ers because of this James Harden drama. He's not showing up. They start their season Thursday against Milwaukee. He's not going to be there. He's in Houston. He's hanging around, waiting. He wants to be traded to the Clippers. And they want to give up nothing for him because that's what they should do. Another old player added to the Clippers, and what you want to give up Terrence Mann and get first-round picks for a guy that's probably out of shape and at the strip club every night. We're not doing that. So Joel Embiid is out on his own, trying to figure this out. And I love Maxey. PJ Tucker, another year older. He's up to 38. Tobias Harris, expiring contract. Melton. Add Kelly Oubre Jr. Quietly, I like that move. House is back. Beverly. Danny Green. So they still have some veterans around this team. Korkmaz. I do believe the Sixers will make the playoffs. The Raptors, come back to me on that. In the Central, Milwaukee, absolutely. Cleveland, I believe they will. So that's 6. Miami will. I look at that 8 spot. I look at the Raptors. I look at the Hawks. I think the Raptors are as good as the Hawks, if not better. And I think Indiana is going to be that team that creeps up on people. I think they're actually a pretty good team in Indiana. Obi Toppin, Mathurin, Turner, Halliburton, who's a stud, Bruce Brown, Nembhard, Buddy Hield, Neesmith, McConnell off the bench, Daniel Tice, Oshweboy from Kentucky. I like the Pacers. I think they're a good club, and I think Orlando and Indiana are my 2 teams that could sneak up on people. I think Indiana's a little farther along. I don't trust Detroit. I think Chicago is going to be a seller, trading possibly DeRozan, trading possibly Zach LaVine at the trade deadlines. I don't think they'll be competitive enough. The Raptors, again, Siakam wants a super max after the year, so he's going to be playing hard for that money. Anunoby, Pirtle, Scotty Barnes. Really, the only new addition to the starting lineup is Dennis Schroeder. Malachi Flynn, rookie Grady Dick, Presta Achua, McDaniels, Boucher. So it's going to be a similar group for the Raptors. They kick off their season tomorrow night at home against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I believe the best team in the East still are the Celtics. They should have beaten the Heat last year, but they gagged. However, I don't have full confidence in the Celtics. Porzingis already has foot problems. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I still don't think, what I don't get throughout their entire offseason, you do all this and you're making moves. Who is their point guard? Who's bringing up the ball every time? Is it going to be Drew Holiday? He's a 2 guard that is the best defender. presumably, on this team. So is he going to do both? That's a lot of effort. A lot to ask of Drew Holiday to go, okay, you're going to dribble the ball up the floor every time, because guess what? Tatum and Brown can't do it. In particular, Jaylen Brown can't dribble with his left. He's a disaster doing that. So I look at that. I look at Milwaukee. I think they're an old team, and I like the addition of Lillard. But Middleton, 35-year-old Brook Lopez, new coach, okay, well. Cleveland, no, not ready. Philly, we just talked about it. They're a mess. Embiid's a good player, but I mean, the East's a crapshoot. Could a team like the Miami Heat get back to the NBA Finals? Why not? Why not? Because I don't think the Celtics are great. I don't think Milwaukee's great. They're good, but they got holes. The Knicks could land an elite player. They could be threatening to anybody in the East. Or Brooklyn, for that matter. I think Brooklyn's a pretty damn good team. They got a lot of options. Bridges, Finney-Smith, Claxton, Dinwiddie. Ben Simmons is healthy. Lonnie Walker the fourth. Cam Thomas, my guy. Royce O'Neal. Sharp. Clowney from Duke. I think James Harden will be traded sometime within the next 3 weeks. There's an early prediction. I don't think it'll be right away, but within the next 3 weeks, it'll happen. I think Anthony Edwards is first team All-NBA, despite the fact that he's playing in Minnesota. Any other spicy takes? I think Houston will be a very good team. I think Oklahoma City finishes top 5 in the West. NBA Finals, again, like the NHL, subject to change because you never know what happens at the trade deadline, things of that nature. I'm sure the sharp money's coming in Lakers, Celtics. That's so boring and so mainstream. I can't predict that. That's just so bleh. So Celtics didn't get there last year, and I don't like their team, as I just talked about. So I'm not picking the Celtics. But Milwaukee, I don't like their team either. So that's problematic. I'll pick the Bucks, but I'm not confident about that. And out west, I'm going to go with the Lakers. Because I like the Lakers team. And maybe there's a serious injury, things happen, but I think I'm going to pick the Lakers to win the title. Because I just think they have the weaponry, they have the firepower to do it. LeBron, tail end of his career, Anthony Davis, rejuvenated, all that crap. This team could do it if they put it all together. But the NBA starts tonight during the NHL Palooza, celebrating every team in the sport with Game 7 of the NLCS. So it should be a fun sports evening. Hope you all enjoy it. We'll be back tomorrow to recap it all with all of you. Till then, just to the point.